Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanderson, Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Colleen Brown, Judge-elect for Clark County District Court, Department 24. But before we get to Judge-elect Brown, Ms. Phillips.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and thank you to our sponsors. We have Dr. Ari Nagy. He's running for Congressional District 3. His website is nagyforcongress.com, and that's F-O-R, nagyforcongress.com. We also have Henderson's Mayor, Michelle Romero. She's running for re-election. Her website is votemichelleromero.com, votemichelleromero.com. Also, we have Cody K. Whipple. He's running for Congressional District 4. His website is codykforcongress.com, and that's the number 4, codykforcongress.com. We also have Dave Marlin. He's running for Las Vegas City Council, Ward 2 or 6. Sorry, Dave. Can't get that in my head. His website is daveforvegas.com, daveforvegas.com. And we also have Judge Jennifer Schwartz, and she is Department 17, and her website is judgeschwartz.com, judgeschwartz.com. Get on all of these websites and get in touch with these people. Also, we have a merch store. It's vipimerch.com, vipimerch.com. We have all kinds of fun things for you to check out there. And also, where's my book? I knew I was missing something. I don't have your book here.
Oh, yeah, you're missing something.
Yeah. So don't forget to grab your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. Sorry, I don't have a copy here. You can get a copy on Amazon. It is $14.99. And if you are a litigant in family court and you don't have an attorney and can't afford one, this book is a self-help book. And here we go. This one right here. You see it each week. This is a self-help book, and it will help you navigate that family court system. Also, I just want to give a shout out to Judge Mary Perry. We had her campaign kickoff party last night over at Payman's. We had a great time. It was a great turnout. Thank you for the shirts, Mary. We love them.
There's my shirt, man.
Yep. We both wore them. So anyway, thank you for those, and thank you for everybody that came. It was a great time. So while we were doing that, everybody knows the State of the Union address was last night. A couple of things. Well, we have 2 shows tonight, so I'm going to do a couple rants on this one and a couple rants for because there was plenty to rant about. But one in particular, when President Trump asked all the members of Congress if they agreed with the fact that their number one job is to protect the American citizens above illegals, and only the Republican side stood for that and agreed to that, and the Democrats in Congress sat. So that is stunning to me. It is absolutely outrageous. The other thing too, he had the Irina. She was from Ukraine, and she was killed by that guy in North Carolina on the train, and he stabbed her in the neck, and she died shortly thereafter. Her parents were there in the audience, and he mentioned, President Trump mentioned that he was going to make sure that they get justice. And I heard that a judge let that killer out early. I had read that. I've read that a few times, actually. But anyway, so the mother, the parents stood up, and the mom was crying. The Democrats also sat during that. I don't know how you can not see that an innocent young woman died and was stabbed, but yet they let those politics get ahead of any kind of compassion, because President Trump followed up with, deporting these illegal immigrants and these criminals that have been raping people, killing people. I mean, there's so many examples. So they don't like what he's doing with ICE. So they're going to sit on their hands, and they're going to promote illegal aliens and not stand for these poor parents that lost their daughter. So those are just a couple of examples that I thought were absolutely disgusting. along with millions of other Americans, thought that that was disgusting as well. I think they need to get their priorities straight. So there we go. I got more for the next one too.
Get your priorities straight.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that all Democrats agree with what the Democratic members of Congress did, because I have friends who are Democrats, and I know that they would not have done that, and they would not have agreed with that. So I'm not putting everyone in one basket. I'm saying the Democrat members of Congress were disgraceful when they just sat on those items.
And she's not saying that all illegals are rapists or murderers either.
No, I'm saying the ones they're deporting that they know have committed these crimes, because, they know there's all kinds of them. But they are criminal. The people that came into the country illegally are criminals when they came in illegally. So
that's why it's called illegal.
Right. Okay.
They didn't call it legal to be illegal.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like stealing candy.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I was hungry, I had to go steal it. But, there's always some circumstances, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Judge-elect Brown, how you doing today, man?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Colleen Brown. I am still technically a candidate for Department 24 since no voting has happened yet. I've been a prosecutor since 2009.
Oh my goodness, one of those?
Yeah. Since 2009, I've worked at the Clark County District Attorney's Office.
Really, that place?
That one, yep. 2 of those years I spent in the appellate division, which is essentially post-conviction motions and hearings and things like that. Then after that, I was promoted to Deputy District Attorney, which you go to a general litigation team. I don't know how familiar you are with the layout of the office, but everyone tends to start there. You handle all kinds of cases from trespass to murder. Then after that, I was assigned to the domestic violence unit for 2 years. Then I went back to track, and then I went to the vehicular crimes unit for 3, and I've been in the major fraud unit for the last 6, 7 almost.
The only office I know in DAs is the DA's office.
Mm-hmm. Here? Well, we have city attorneys in North Las Vegas.
I'm talking about Steve Wilson's office.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
No wonder why you were talking about the fraud in the banks.
I'm the chief of the fraud unit. Yes.
Okay.
So I've been the team chief of the major fraud and elder abuse unit at the Clark County District Attorney's Office since 2022, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2022. And as the team chief of that unit, I'm responsible for overseeing the staff of about 6, one other attorney, and then we have additional staff members. And we deal with things like embezzlements, which people tend to think of when they think of fraud, but also like grandparent scams, the cryptocurrency schemes, the text message schemes, the letters from the IRS, that kind of stuff. So we see everything on that team, not just the thefts from maybe employers and things. We also have our elder abuse caseload, and then we have some cases that deal with public corruption.
Okay. Tell us more about your background.
My background.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to law school at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Okay. And when I was, the Badgers, in case you were wondering, when I was in Madison, a lot of law students do things during school to get some sort of real world experience. Because I don't know if you know this, but law school is a whole lot of hypothetical stuff that has really no relevance to what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis.
A hypothetical question. Be like, I can't say that. It might come.
Yeah.
They got a lot of hypothetical in law school.
That's probably where they got out of the habit of answering that. But during law school, I actually was one of 25 first-year law students that was chosen to work with the Judge Advocate General Court during their summer internship program. And I was assigned to Fort Knox, Kentucky. And I spent the whole summer there, and we did PT and things like that. So we kind of learned a little bit more about the Army life. And after that summer, the next summer, I worked at an insurance defense firm. And then the economy collapsed, 2008. Mm-hmm. And all my friends who were at large scale law firms lost their jobs. So during that time, I was looking at government jobs just because I knew that maybe that would be a safer bet. And my grandparents lived in Las Vegas at the time. So I applied here because I wanted a better relationship with them. And that's how I ended up here. But during college, I also worked at a civil firm for 4 years. I was called an office assistant, but I was helping a lot with research and getting the pleadings ready to go for the attorneys and stuff like that.
So, family? You have family?
Yes. Oh, right. I want to talk about myself. So I, besides being an attorney, obviously, I am a mother, I am a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter. I have 2 small boys, and my husband and I have been married for about 12 years.
Fur babies?
No.
Oh, you need to go get one.
My children really want them, but
Christmas is coming again.
Indeed. But I cannot be responsible for small kids, all their things, and fur babies. So when they're a little bigger, then we made a deal with them. We had that conversation yesterday, actually.
So, have you ever ran for office before?
Not run, no. I actually did put in for the appointment in 2023 for the Henderson Justice Court that ultimately went to Barbara Skiffle-Lachla. I was going to run in 2024 for the seat that ultimately was won by Sandra DiGiacomo, but I really like Sandy. We're friends, so I didn't want to run against my friend, and so I did not run in that race.
So, how do you feel? Never ran for elected seat before. Put your name on the ballot. Walk away from it. Not raising any money because you can't until you draw an opponent.
Right.
And win. And then you have some judges that sitting in the seat and they have opposition.
Yeah.
Or you have some attorneys that ran a whole bunch of times and draw an opponent. How did you, Colleen Brown, get so lucky?
And then tell us the response that you've been getting.
Okay. So
you probably all the judges that drew an opponent probably don't like you.
Well,
they're like, where did she come from?
Yeah, who the heck is her?
Who does she think she is?
I was just as surprised as anyone, to be honest with you. So I had mom stuff to do on that Friday. And I'm not trying to tell you that I wasn't sitting there refreshing the whole time. Like, that would be a lie, and I don't do that. But I had mom things to do. So instead of sitting there and like spending the whole day just refreshing and trying to figure it out, my kids needed haircuts. So we went to get their haircuts because I don't know if you know this, but little mop-headed kids that gets in their eyes and they can't see stuff. So we were getting their haircut, and it was like $450, and I'm like, what is happening right now? So I asked Tom Letitia, he was my campaign manager. I'm like, what's going on? Who's there? No, I didn't know about you until after.
We're very hurt.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I saw you do that first
She
day.
drew a tear.
You did?
Yes.
Do you need a hug?
Yeah, after the show.
Okay. So I'm sitting there, and my kids are getting their haircuts, and
Sorry, and for that, when you get elected, we're just going to sit in your courtroom constantly just to mess.
Are you going to make funny faces?
Yes.
Well, I'll work on my poker.
I might even throw a paper airplane your way.
Oh, if you're good at making them, they could make it that far. I was so long distance.
Okay.
You just need some weights. So we're sitting there, I'm refreshing. We've got like 10 minutes till it closes, but then Tom tells me that there's 4 or 5 people still in the room, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So my husband's like, oh my gosh. So even my little kids are like, oh my gosh. So
Home Alone.
Yes. So we're sitting there, and like there's still people, and it wasn't until 5:30 when Tom tells me, like, Colleen, no one filed against you. And I'm in the car. I'm not driving. My husband drove. Just so you didn't know, children were harmed in the making of this comment. And my husband drove, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And he's like, did you win? And I was like, I think so. And then my son was like, hooray. So probably the most wholesome finding out you're going to be a judge that ever happened. I was in shock. And afterwards, I'm calling it trolling. I think they're coming from a good place, especially because I've appeared in front of most of our judges. And so for the most part, they're familiar with me. They're familiar with my work product. They're familiar with my personality. And so they were all very nice about it. But they're basically like, how'd you just put your name down there and no one decided to pick you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I'm so scared. Yeah, I'm very terrifying, obviously, that people just were afraid. So I don't know. I feel really lucky. I feel really blessed. I'm not taking it for granted. And I think what I've been trying to do since no one put their name down is go out there and still meet the public, because I've even seen you make this comment, and I agree. people have a right to know who their elected officials are going to be. And just because the bar, which ultimately runs for judge, just chose not to run against me doesn't mean that the population in general has any idea who I am. So I've been going out, I've been going to events, I've been trying to meet the community, I've been trying to explain, hey, yes, I know I didn't draw an opponent, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And that's been pretty helpful to meet members of our community.
And you have all year to do that.
I do.
Yes.
I know. I have 10 more months.
Yeah.
So
I think that is very smart that you're doing that, because we say it all the time. No one knows the judges. No one knows the candidates.
Yeah.
You know, when people are sitting there voting, they just look maybe for a familiar name, but no one knows you. So I think that is really helpful that you're doing that.
I'm trying, and I'm trying to meet the civil bar too, because while I know the prosecutors obviously know who I am, the defense attorneys for the most part have an idea of who I am. The civil bar has no idea, and they're going to probably be half or more of my caseload. So it's important that they know kind of what to expect too.
So you're going to have a dual calendar, criminal and civil?
Most likely. That's the impression I got from speaking to the other judges who came from the prosecutor's office.
And you're
too.
a prosecutor.
Yes.
So how much of civil do you know?
Right now.
Yeah.
So
She's going to be studying a lot from now till January.
I don't know.
See?
Yeah, so you might laugh, but actually in that bag over there that I brought with me are the civil rules of procedure. I've been going through them in detail because the brown one. I've been going through them in detail because I'm trying. Yeah, well, I'm a mom, so
Mom purse.
you know. I've been trying to make sure that I at least know where to look if I have a question, right? Because part of the thing that people fear when they go before a judge is that the judge isn't going to know or follow the law. So the first step is know the law. The second step, of course, is follow it. So I'm taking this time, the last 6 weeks, I've been looking at additional things and kind of going through those as well to get more familiar with it. Ultimately, when the elections are over, the newly elected chief judge will make a decision about what cases will go where, and I'll have a better understanding of what types of cases are in front of me and be familiar with them before I start. So it should be okay.
How long have you been with the prosecutor's office?
Since 2009.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the public defenders might be a little weary of you because you came out of the prosecutor's office?
I think some might be. I think some of the newer ones, but I've spent the last 16 years developing a reputation with the public defender's office as someone that they can call if they have a question or a concern, as someone who will look into things when they bring them up to me. I had one where they brought an issue to my attention. I checked into it, and sure enough, what they were telling me checked out. So I've tried really hard to develop that reputation, to do what I say I'm going to do, to follow through on promises I make, and to be fair and nice. Because, for the most part, people are just doing their job. Mm-hmm. Everyone in this realm is working for justice. We just might define it differently in a different case. So I treat everyone with respect, and I think that has translated to how they respect me.
So that brings me to this question. What qualities make a fair and effective district court judge?
I think the primary one, if we're being honest, is know the law, right? That's the first one. That would be ideal. When you walk in the courtroom, the judge knows the law. The second is that they apply that law without fear or favor. They're going to follow it no matter who's in front of them. And the last thing I think is to treat everyone with dignity and respect. When people come to court, it's probably the most traumatic day they're going to have. And it's not just the people who are the victims or the plaintiffs or the defendants. It's also the attorneys. A lot of attorneys who come to court don't want to be there. So if you treat everyone with dignity and respect, then everyone feels like they've been heard, they are heard, and then they realize that justice was served, even if it's not ultimately in their favor.
So you handle elder abuse cases.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read all kinds of things about across the country where people come in and get guardianship of elderly people. Do you handle those types of cases? And if you do, how many are you seeing just here in Clark County?
So the guardianship itself is done in family court. But so the part that I see about that process is if, for example, that person got guardianship over them and then took advantage of them, like took their money and things like that.
Yeah, like some don't even know who these people are.
Yes.
They don't know.
Yes.
Which is stunning to me that any judge would allow that to happen. I don't even know how that happens. But so when someone in the family comes to you and says, so-and-so, we don't even know who this is, but they have guardianship and take over all the money and everything. So talk about how that even happens.
So the Nevada legislature actually in 2015 revisited the elder abuse, exploitation, isolation, abandonment law. They changed the penalty structure from a lower penalty to a category C felony gross misdemeanor for those types of things. So essentially when someone's abusing someone, they're not just physically harming them, but they could also be mentally harming them, like telling them, I'll steal your cat or something like that if you don't do what I say. That's one part. Another part's neglect, which we see in caretaker situations. So more like guardianship that you're talking about, where someone gets guardianship or they have power of attorney or they are, voluntarily taking responsibility by coming over all the time. And they just basically leave them to their own devices. Those were very commonly happening in unlicensed group home cases that we were prosecuting pretty heavily a few years ago. But we've had a diminution in investigations of some of these cases. We get more from Henderson. We get more from North Las Vegas. Metro's a little overburdened right now, and they do need that unit back, I think, to help look into these cases. Because when you get to the exploitation, now you've got more complicated cases, which is why we have the elder abuse cases, because fraud is complicated as well. And in those cases, you're looking at people who do use the undue influence in terms of getting that guardianship, whether they're lying to the court or not, or they're using a power of attorney document to go in and put themselves on all of these, their homes and their bank accounts.
Take their money.
And they're taking their money.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2023, I actually went and testified before the legislature because there was a decision that came out, I think in 2015, actually. It's called the NATCO decision that said that if someone's a joint owner on a bank account, then essentially it's a gift to that person, even if that person does not put any money in. The legislature had never had that intention with that law. Their intention was if someone gets on someone's bank account and takes advantage of them, that you can still prosecute that crime if there's other evidence of exploitation, right? That's what they meant. So the legislature was able to fix that law and make it more clear about what their real intention was. And as a result of that, we've been able to look into some of these cases where someone gets their name on a bank account or someone gets their name on a house and see what the elements of exploitation are. Does that person have a physical disability that prevents them from doing things? They call it normal. I mean, that's not the right word, but the statute unfortunately says the normal everyday activities they would do. Do they have a mental disability, something like bipolar or any of those types of things that prevent them from living independently? Or are they over the age of 60? And I'm not trying to tell you that 60 is old by any means, okay? But I do know the legislature modified that down sometime in the late or sometime around the 1950s or so, to have being 60 being an older person. And so if they're over the age of 60, even if they don't have those mental limitations or things like that, was there something about the communication between those people that resulted in exploitive conduct? And so it comes up. I wouldn't say I have as many cases as I used to have, but what we're now seeing is a transition from maybe exploitation by a caregiver to things like broader-based grandparent scams. And what I mean by grandparent scams is, I don't know if this has happened to you, where you get a text message on your phone and someone's telling you that someone accessed some account somewhere or your delivery was delayed, or they're calling you and saying that someone in your family's been harmed and they need you to give them money right now. So for a period of time, that was that was happening a lot here in Clark County. And I like to tell people that these are cyclical. When I first moved here, my grandparents were almost a victim of a grandparent scam. Somebody called and said, hey, my cousin is in jail in some country that she'd never been to, and we need money. And my grandfather, who was a cop, he was from Chicago, he was in the Chicago police force, and my grandmother, who was a housewife, that's pretty common during the time, thought that might be true. So they got nervous and they were going to get the money until my grandma was like, let me call my aunt to make sure. And sure enough, she calls my aunt and my cousin's fine and nothing happened. But it was only because she took that pause and double checked that she wasn't victimized. And it's come around again.
Wow.
Yeah.
I ignore all those because I get.
You should tell everyone to ignore them all.
Yeah, I get so many of those. What about deed theft? Do you see a lot of that where people are just, because you hear about that too all the time?
So for people who own their homes free and clear, there is not another agency that's double checking your deed. When you have a mortgage, your bank gets notified if anything really happens on your account on that house, because they're listed as somebody who has a trust or some sort of lien on your property. But when you own it free and clear, there's not that safeguard. So I'm gonna spoil my own story by telling you that the assessor has now made it where you can put your information on there and sign up for if anyone ever files anything on any of your houses and stuff like that. But before that, someone could go down there, they could file a lien on your property without any real evidence demonstrating that it existed, and they could just forge your name and sign a quitclaim, and that's it.
But see, what that amazes me. How come they don't have policies in place that would do they require ID?
They do now.
Simply you can't just, a company with, filing a lien, they have to have paperwork. Isn't there?
But that's because what happens, and I know you know this, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it again, but basically what happened was that the criminals, for lack of a better word, or the bad actors got smarter, and then we got smarter, and then they got smarter, and then we got smarter. So there are policies in place.
Everybody's
now.
getting smarter.
It's just crazy that would even.
That's why I ruined my story up front. There's definitely policies in place now to prevent that kind of thing from happening. But before that, no one really thought that anyone would ever do that, because why would you steal someone's house? Mm-hmm. So no one is omniscient. No one's going to know every single possible thing someone could possibly do that's going to convince somebody to do something that's not in their best interest. No one can know that. But they make changes once it comes up and they try to fix it.
Has that happened in Clark County where somebody was taken out of their house because their deed was taken, and then did they get the house back?
They did. They got the house back.
How many of those cases actually have?
I've only seen 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
3 or 4. Yeah. I want to say 4, actually. We have one right now. But she's going to sign the house back, so it should be okay.
And do these people go to jail?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
They should.
Sometimes they do, but sometimes with negotiations too, the primary, especially with our elder population, they just want as much money and their stuff back as soon as possible. And so if we can facilitate that by maybe making a deal that sucks, for lack of a better word, then they sign that paperwork, they sign that house back over, then the victim is made more whole and they're still held accountable, but they may not end up in jail because they've given the house back. So
it's a felony, right?
Yeah, it is. Many times.
Prosecuted murderers?
Yes, twice.
You've done trials and jury trials?
2 of them. Mm-hmm.
Were you successful in your
delivery? I was.
You are on a high-profile case right now.
I am. Several.
Oh, several.
Uh-huh.
Oh, please tell. What is this several?
Well, I'll tell you. Well, you tell me which one you want to talk about, because
you just open up the door and said several.
I know. So our Nevada judges has a couple of our cases up there that you can check out. But
you're talking about they went in the courtroom and
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They weren't a plaintiff or defendant or okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Please. Okay, so because we have the third prong of our caseload, which is public corruption type cases, sometimes we have cases with lawyers, sometimes we have cases with police officers, sometimes we have cases with high-profile individuals in town. Okay. So that's what I meant by several.
Okay. Well, are you on this one Carrie Cox councilwoman case?
I am the prosecutor assigned to that case.
The prosecutor assigned to that case.
Yes, sir.
What could you tell us about that case?
So
could I hear your opening?
Yeah. So I'll just say that Miss Cox is entitled to the presumption of innocence. Right. So prosecutors have an obligation not to mess with that. And by saying that, I mean we have an obligation not to say anything that could impact a jury or impact a court or impact her ability to have that fair and impartial hearing. Right. So we had a hearing yesterday. I think the media covered it. They filed a motion to dismiss. It was denied. And besides that, I don't want to impact Mrs. Cox's case by saying anything else about it.
Okay. Well, what is your approach to discover disputes and continuances?
Discovery disputes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that happens a lot. I don't know if you know this, but we have to provide a lot of information as the state. So when there's a dispute about things that you need to turn over, typically the state tries to turn over whatever they can because we have an obligation, obviously, under the law. But if there's a dispute, then it goes before the court makes a decision, and then you do what the court says. That's how we've handled those historically. So we try to voluntarily comply with what we need to do. If there's an issue, the court makes a decision, and then we comply with what the court says. In terms of continuances, that's something that we see quite a bit. And I want to say that some of that has to do with delay tactics, but I don't think that encompasses everything that could possibly happen. As you know, the Clark County Public Defender's Office is also one of the largest law firms in the state. They employ almost as many attorneys as we do, if not some more, and they handle a lot of the cases, but they're handling a lot of the cases. And so I think it would be I think it would be rude of me not to explain that sometimes they need more time to handle all of the cases appropriately because people deserve a defense. Same thing for us. We have a lot of cases. We have more than they do. And we try our very best to comply in a timely manner, but we don't get everything on time either. And so we hand things over as soon as we can, but sometimes that causes a delay because they're entitled to look at it. And realistically, everybody should want this process to work. Everybody should want it to be fair because you never know when it could be you or a family member that's kind of being the subject of whatever's going on. And if the process is always fair, no matter what's going on, then I think it's better. But look, I drank the Kool-Aid. I work at the DA's office. I believe justice should be blind. And that's how I've always operated on things. In terms of continuances in general, look, people are human. So if someone calls me and it's happened before where something happened, they have a family emergency, they need to go deal with that. And that's a continuance. And I know that's very frustrating for our victims, but ultimately that lawyer is also a person or that defendant for that matter had an emergency. Like we can go forward again. So
you're going to have them prove their case to you?
Why they need a continuance?
Why they need a continuance?
So I don't think so. I mean, I don't know about that in general.
Because they might take advantage of you, you know?
Some could. Yeah. I would say some could. I think if someone said they're in the hospital, that's easy enough to demonstrate. If someone's kid got sick, like I'm not going to make them prove that their kid was sick. You know what I mean?
Doctor's note.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't need to take your son to the doctor if they're throwing up. You just got to make sure they drink fluids. So I think that because I'm a human being, I treat other people like human beings. It's possible some people may try to take advantage of that. But what I don't like, and even as a prosecutor, like if you've done this 2 or 3 times at this point, like now we've kind of got an issue. So let's really figure out what's going on. And I'm not saying that I'm automatically going to grant all the continuances or I'm automatically not. What I'm saying is that I think it's very important for judges to remember that the people that are appearing in front of them are people, and sometimes things happen.
How will you address case backlogs and trial delays?
So that's very important. And it's also something I'm dealing with in my own office. And that happens because of continuances, right? Things just keep going on and on and on.
In fact, I had one this week.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Twice.
Sorry that happened twice then. I think with the case backlog, it's going to be really important for me when I take the bench to get a really good grasp on what's going on in my department. And that's going to mean, do some of these cases meet the threshold of needing to be closed? Like maybe they're just open because no one bothered to close them. Do some of these need to have people come in to explain what what is your status? What are we doing here? That's possible. And in terms of the criminal matters, which will be newly assigned to that department, it's going to be really important for me to see what's been happening procedurally before we can make any decisions on how we need to move. But when I met with the staff that's already currently there, and they said that they want to stay, so that will help us get on the ground.
They want to stay.
Yeah, well, it was nice for me to hear that because that's not always true. So they want to stay, so that should help us kind of get going a little bit faster.
Who wants to stay? The JEA?
Yeah.
The law clerk?
Yes.
The marshal?
Yes.
No, I need to pick my own crew.
Why? But they lose their jobs. Did you know that?
Really?
Yes. They lose their jobs if they're not with a new judge or something like that. And I was horrified to learn that. So
she's gonna be the compassionate judge.
She doesn't want them to lose their jobs.
She's gonna be the compassionate judge.
Well, look, at the end of the day, they've been there, so they are familiar with the current caseload. Whether that stays the same will be different. And so it'll be better for me to have a staff in place that knows what's going on, so that when I come in, I'm also not trying to learn their part too. You know what I mean? So
and then she'll easily get rid of them within a year.
No, I don't think so. I'm sure they're going to be great. Like they seem very lovely, and I think they're going to be great.
Who are you replacing? What judge?
Judge Erica Ballou.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. See.
Yeah. She chose not to run.
Well, that's probably a good thing because I don't think she would have won.
She might have. I don't know. Look, I did not have a negative experience in front of her. And I did actually go and meet with her before I decided I was going to run in that department. And I just let her know it wasn't about her. And I wished her well. So I hope she's happy, whatever she's doing.
How was that conversation?
Fine.
Huh?
If you're going to be a big girl with a big girl job, put your big girl pants on, have a conversation. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it was fine. And I genuinely, Erica has always been, Judge Ballou, it's always been really nice to me. And when I had cases in her department, she was prepared and she was professional. So she was fine at our meeting. I wish her well.
So how do you plan to maintain efficiency without sacrificing due process?
So there are things that you can do to make sure that that happens, right? I know some judges have talked about continuation of status checks. I think that's only necessary when you first take over because then people learn that you're serious, right? And they know like, no, you really mean it when you say you're going to move forward this time. So when I take over, I am an efficient human in general, for the most part, except when I'm putting my dishes away because I can't reach some of those shelves. But generally speaking, very efficient person. He's normal size, 5'9". Yeah. I know. We have stools, don't worry. So there's he's like it's average male size. So there's
Is that the average male size?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I
Google
didn't
it.
know that.
Yeah. I'm short for a woman. I think
How
the
tall
average
are you?
female is 5'3". I think the average female is like what?
5'3" too. But see, that's why I wear
Got
these.
tall shoes, yeah. So there's a way to do it without sacrificing due process. And part of that is like find people where they're at, figure out where they need to go and get them there and encourage them to get there. And then once you've given them that opportunity, if they're not there, then maybe they're not going to get there. And then you just figure out what you can do after that.
So what's your view on bail reform and pretrial detention?
So that is an issue that's definitely going to come before me. I am sure it will. So I don't want to give an answer on that because Judicial Canons 2.1 and 2.11 would preclude me from saying something like that could disqualify me. I will say that the legislature makes those choices. And so if you have an issue with it, you go talk to your elected officials.
So how would you balance victim rights and defendants' constitutional rights?
That's currently what we do now, right? We want to let our victims know that they have the right to be heard. The victims have the right to be heard at sentencing. It's very important. I think judges, especially the judges I've appeared in front of, have really taken those comments by our victims very seriously. And also defendants have the right to have a fair hearing and to make sure that their attorneys are prepared and that they have all the information they're entitled to have. So balancing the equities is similar to listening to both parties, but also enforcing the law when it needs to be enforced. And that can include things like motion practice and stuff like that.
You think it's going to, sorry, Ms. Phillips, you think it's going to be hard for you to transition from an advocate to a neutrality, a neutral?
I've been thinking a lot about that. I think I naturally want to help people. And it's not just the little prosecutors, the baby prosecutors, what I call them. I also have provided information to some of our young defense attorneys because they're not always going to be new. And at some point, they're going to pay it forward, hopefully. I think the primary issue I'm going to have is not helping either party, even though I would equally help them both. I think so. I'm a mom. You know what I mean?
Come off the bench.
No.
Yeah.
No, that part's going to be hard, not helping them. Making neutral choices that I think I've already can handle. It's the not wanting to help them present their argument better. Either party is going to be difficult. But I have 10 months to work on it, which I'm starting now.
I think people want to know some judges give out sentences that are little slaps on the wrist. We were talking about that one case, which is horrific. A lot of people are talking about it and they're outraged about it. That sometimes the deals that the DA has to make or does make because your case isn't strong enough or you don't have the evidence or, whatever it is. And these people that murder got probation. There are, and you see it all across the country. People are tired of these judges, giving light sentences, letting these people out early. They go back and reoffend. They go back and kill. It's stunning. How are you going to be as a judge? And what would you say to Clark County?
About that?
Yeah.
So this is more me being a prosecutor, what I'm about to say. Mm. I know that our community has cases that are so very offensive to them and they don't understand why maybe someone in the DA's office made the choice that they make. Mm. There are a lot of things that we are made aware of that we don't share with the public, whether it's to protect the privacy of our victims or something else that happened that we just don't make public that ultimately go into some of these decisions. And now going and having argued sentencings before in front of other judges, they're stuck with the information we provide them. So the pre-sentence investigations reports typically have all of the details from the police report, but none of the other things that the prosecutor has found out. Sometimes judges get that information in a sentencing memorandum from the defense. Sometimes they get it from the prosecutor in a sentencing memorandum from the prosecutor. But ultimately, the judge is stuck with whatever they're provided. And so I've been in a courtroom where a judge wasn't given all of the information and something happened, and then later they learned more information and they wouldn't have made that choice. So I'm having a little compassion or empathy for some of those judges that are making choices with information that they're not getting all of it. As a judge myself, I think I've demonstrated over the last 16 years that I will be fair, impartial, and respectful. Does that mean that I will be a harsh sentencer? I don't know. Does that mean I'll be a light sentencer? I don't know. But what it means is every person who comes before me is going to get the same fair shake, which they should have. And I'm going to look at all of the information that I'm presented, ask questions if I have questions, ask for more information if I need more information, and make a decision that's based upon the law and the facts of the case that's presented to me.
Yeah, when you see somebody who's murdered a 17-month-old baby or a little baby, and then you've got probation recommended from the DA's office, would you question that and say, I think you guys need to go back and try again?
So I know a lot goes into the negotiations of the parties, especially if they come from settlement conferences. Settlement conferences, like the judge has to follow that deal. If they don't follow the deal, it gets unwound. And sometimes...
What does that mean?
That means that the parties go back to the drawing board and they can go to trial.
Oh.
So if it comes from a settlement conference, and I don't know enough about the facts of that particular case to provide real information about that, speaking as a prosecutor in general. But what I do know is when they make those choices, when the parties come together, sometimes they're trying to balance a few things. Sometimes they're trying to balance not making a family go through the trial where they're going to be cross-examined about things or shown photographs of injured children. Sometimes it's that information came out, which damages our ability to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Sometimes it's that a conviction without appellate issues is better than going through a trial, maybe getting a not guilty, or getting a guilty, than having to do the trial again because something happens during the trial. So typically, Steve tends to tell us to do this. We talk to our victims.
And you mean Steve Wilson?
Yeah, sorry, my boss, Steve Wilson. It's actually in some of our policies. We should talk to our victims, make sure they're aware of what's going on, and let them know kind of why we're doing certain things. And even though it's horrifying and devastating, I'm sure the prosecutor who made that deal feels badly too. But ultimately, the parties came together to make a decision based upon all the information they have, which the public doesn't.
It's very unfortunate.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
There was a question I wanted to ask, but it just escapes.
I got time. You can remember if you want.
Escape my mind. Oh yeah, I think I know what it is. When you make a decision, do you plan to explain yourself to both parties how you arrived at that particular decision?
So judges are required to make a record, is what they call it, of why they've gotten to a certain place on many instances. So yes, I will follow the law and make sure I make a record about how I got to something. The record's important because if a party's going to appeal, the reviewing court, which will likely be the appellate court or the Supreme Court, needs to know why you did what you did. And without an adequate record explaining yourself, essentially, they can't do that. So yes, of course, I'll make records on why I've come to decisions for sure.
Okay. Do you have anything else for Judge-elect
Sure.
Brown?
Yeah.
Well, Judge-elect Brown, thank you.
Just Colleen for now.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate the insight that you're providing, how you're going to operate at the bench. And maybe some attorneys will be like, oh, man, I'm going to preempt her.
They could. Yeah. I think that's probably
After they watch the show, preempt.
That'll probably be pretty common up front, especially for our civil bar, because they just don't know what they're getting. And a lot of times when you have clients, you want to know what you're getting so that you can adequately advise them. So I imagine the preempts up front will be pretty dramatic. But ultimately, I hope during my time on the bench that I demonstrate that I'm qualified and competent and capable, and those preempts go down. So
Okay.
I won't be mad though. I'm not going to hold it against you.
If they preempt you, you made $450 for the county each preempt, right? So
Yeah, I don't know.
you're
where
making
that
money for the
goes.
county.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Because I heard they made over $300,000 with preempts.
Well, hopefully they
For
spend it on
last
something
year.
good.
last year.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good income.
Well, hopefully I'm not the reason that they're making all that money, but I imagine, I just think anyone who practices in the civil field who sees a prosecutor who hasn't maybe handled the type of case that they have may have some concerns about how their client will come out on that. So I'm expecting that to happen. I'm not going to hold it against anyone. It's not personal. It's just business.
And let me ask you another question before you do your final remarks. Is this the first show you've came on
No.
to talk about? You really? There's somebody else?
You didn't get me until now.
Really?
Uh-huh.
What show have you been on?
Two of them. So Tom Letitia has Middle Ground.
All right, forget that.
You want me to ask the other one?
No. Let me ask another question.
Okay.
Is this the first show you've been on as judge-elect?
Yes.
Good. So
Wait.
I want to know.
Yes. Because I think the other one, the filing period was still open.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mark's going to zoom in on you, and this is your moment to say whatever you want to say. You know, I'm going to be this compassionate judge for the Clark County District Court bench.
I'm going to treat people like people.
Or if you want to give a contact information, whatever you want. Or if you want to have whatever closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. So I'm Colleen Brown. I will be a judge-elect in Department 24, so I will be your next sitting judge in Department 24. I have 30 plus jury trials that I've done. I have been in front of the district courts, almost all of them, in hundreds of motions. I've written over 700 motions and oppositions myself, so I'm familiar with the practice of law and what's going to come before me. I think what our bar is expecting from their judges is that they're fair, they're competent, they're respectful, and those three qualities are qualities that I embody. I understand the preempts are going to happen, and that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you, nor am I going to sit there and keep tabs on what's going on. But I want people to know that I'm out there. I'm trying to meet the public because I think it's important that you know who your elected officials are. And since I will be one of those, I want to get to know you. You can follow me on Instagram, Colleen for Judge, COLLEN 4. And I'm posting about the events I'm going to. You're free to reach out to me there as well. And thank you so much for the honor of being here and for the honor of becoming your next sitting district court judge in Department 24.
Well, thank you, Judge-elect Brown. Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Folks, that's Colleen Brown, Judge-elect for Clark County District Court, Department 24. We hope that this show has been informative. And, if you guys see Ms. Brown on whatever your social media or you see her in the streets, congratulate her because that was a task to do what she did, to run unopposed as an attorney and not as a sitting judge. So that was a huge task that she accomplished. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips of Veterans of Politics. Don't go away, folks. We have another show.